I need a weapon, man. All you got is goddamn nunchucks. You know where I can get a gun?
So I saw one battle after another. This is the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio. I was pretty excited for this one, and I heard a lot of people saying how great it was before it came out. And I want to say that when it comes to Paul Thomas Anderson, I am a massive fan, I would say mostly of the first half of his career. I love Boogie Nights. Magnolia is in my personal top 10 favorite movies of all time. That movie just does things to me emotionally that I can't describe. It's one of my all-time favorites. And I think that There Will Be Blood is one of the best films ever made. So this guy has made enough masterpieces in the past to me to put him on a pedestal of one of the greatest modern directors, right? The problem I had with Anderson is that after There Will Be Blood, there wasn't really a movie of his that hit as strongly as the first half of his career. Like, I didn't like Licorice Pizza. I didn't really like Inherent Vice. I thought Phantom Thread was good for Daniel Day-Lewis's performance, but still not quite my type of movie. So I was just waiting for that next amazing Paul Thomas Anderson movie, and this one looked like it was going to be it. And I can say, for me personally, after watching this movie, I really, really, really like this movie. There are a lot of things to love about it, but unfortunately, I don't love it. So let's talk about the positives first. All right, so first and foremost, this is a movie that's kind of hard to talk about without spoiling it because most of the trailers haven't revealed much of anything at all about the storyline. Basically, without getting too much into spoiler territory, the gist is that DiCaprio in his younger years was part of this rebellious activist group that was going around and blowing things up, setting bombs, releasing people at the border, all these sort of things, all of the chaotic political activism that you could think of, he was involved with, and he was very good at making bombs. He falls in love with a woman that is involved with this as well, and they basically have this relationship that goes about as they perform all of these actions. But eventually she gets pregnant, and DiCaprio's character is a little bit more focused on raising her and giving her a good life and everything. So eventually he kind of falls away from that lifestyle, and many, many years pass, and now DiCaprio is an older, kind of aging hipster character with his daughter who is now 16 years old, and his past is coming back to haunt him. There are soldiers coming. There are people that have tracked them down from the things he's done in his past, as well as other reasons that I don't want to spoil. That was actually kind of shocking and also just bizarre, but in a darkly comedic way. I don't know. I can't really get into it yet, but they're coming for him. So now he's this older man that's basically this burnout that's been sitting around smoking pot, drinking beer, always prepared for a day like this. Like, he has escape routes and he has all of his things, all of his connections that he needs, but the humor of the movie to me, and this movie was actually really, really funny, and I think that that's one of the major pluses that I have for it. I think when you look at the premise of the movie or the plot line of this movie, you might think that it's like kind of like iffy territory, especially in a political climate right now in my country that's definitely at odds and definitely at edge with a lot of horrible things that have happened as of late. So you might think this is kind of bad timing, but I would say that the majority of this movie is actually very, for its subject matter, very lighthearted and very funny. If you think about the way that Boogie Nights is funny, or if you think about some of the earlier Paul Thomas Anderson movies, because as I said in the beginning of my video, I much prefer the earlier Paul Thomas Anderson movies, and I can say that I think this movie is the closest in tone to some of his earlier films. So that's a positive for me, especially when it comes to the humor. Which is all in DiCaprio's performance. So now he's this kind of like older, out of shape guy. In his time, in his day, he was a legend. He was this activist legend. People know him. People know his name. Like, he is known around this community. The unfortunate thing is he hasn't done anything with it in like the last nearly 20 years. And so he's so out of the loop. He's such a burnout. He's just smoking weed all the time. He can't remember a goddamn thing. He's out of shape. He's trying to run. He's huffing and puffing. He's trying to save his daughter. He's trying to find his daughter. He's trying to communicate with people. And a lot of the humor comes from DiCaprio's character just being like such a bum at this point in his life that he just can't keep up and he can't figure out what he's supposed to do. But there's also this endearing nature to it because he really does love his daughter so much. He wants to protect her from the life that he lived at one point in time because none of this is her fault, And so, like, he's so nervous for his daughter or something happening to her. He wants her to live the best life that she can. And so like he's scrambling so hard to try to find her, to try to like, get to the rendezvous point, to do anything that he can to rescue his daughter. And I think that there's a lot of heartfelt stuff in here from that dynamic. And look, DiCaprio, he is, again, legitimately one of the best actors of our time. Like I mean, some people think he's overrated, but like, I look at The Revenant, Wolf of Wall Street, so many performances of his, and this one is no different. This is one of the best DiCaprio performances. You can tell that he put his all into it, and I actually think DiCaprio is kind of at his best when he's doing comedy. When you think about the scene where he takes the drugs in Wolf of Wall Street and he can't move and he can't use his legs, or even some of the other, more comical performances of his, I always think that he really excels at that, to the point where I think he should just bite the bullet and do a full-on like Seth Rogen comedy someday or something, because he's already friends with Jonah Hill, so why not? So I think DiCaprio is hilarious in the movie. The situation is serious, but seeing him try to run from the cops, seeing him being old and not being able to keep up with the young activist, seeing him constantly in a robe the entire movie, it's very reminiscent of like the dude from The Big Lebowski, getting caught up in a weird criminal situation where he's just trying to figure it out, but he's stoned the entire time, and he's trying to find the right connections. There's one hilarious bit that they do throughout the entire film, which is, I think, like the funniest thing this movie does, is that there are these specific passwords that he has to use in order to get in contact with the other activists. And what they have him do is they give him like this pamphlet, long ago, where it has all the information on it. He's supposed to memorize it and burn it so that nobody can have any evidence of it. And then now, years later, he's like smoked so much dope that he can't remember anything from the pamphlet, and he's trying to contact the other activists, and they keep asking for the password, and he doesn't know what the password is, and he's getting like pissed off, and he has this ongoing argument with the guy on the other end of the phone, who is the entire time just being straight deadpan, not arguing back with him, just being like, you just need to tell me what the password is. It reminded me of a scene like if you're ever on the phone with somebody, like say like you need to cancel a subscription or something, or like you're ever on the phone with somebody and you're constantly like trying to explain like, no, this is just the one thing that I want. I don't care about anything else. Just this thing. Just tell me this thing. This one piece of information is the only thing I need. And the person on the other end of the phone is like, well, sir, if you wanted the information, you would remember the password. And it just like goes on and on. There's like 3 or 4 different scenes where he's on the phone with this guy, and it's the funniest shit ever. And with Paul Thomas Anderson, he does a lot of great storytelling with the camera work itself. There's a fantastic shot early in the movie where the camera is sort of soaring over this cityscape as you're watching a character run from the cops. Really, really intense, and there's a lot of intense moments in this film. There's a car chase sequence that happens towards the end of the film, which is very basic. It's not like an over-the-top, like ridiculous Fast and Furious car chase. It's very there's just one car and there's another car coming after him, but like they're on the back roads and the roads are winding and turning, and the way that he shot it, and the zooms, and like seeing the character's perspective of like how aware they are of how close the car is behind them and everything. It was just really, really well done, and actually kind of gave me that feeling like when you're on a roller coaster and you're about to go over a hill. It was shot in a way where I was literally feeling that pit in my stomach, like, oh my God, like, you feel like the car is going to go one hill further, things are going to crash into one another, so it's like it gives you that sense of anxiety, which I really appreciated. I will say both a positive and a negative for me is Benicio del Toro's character, because as great as DiCaprio was, I think Del Toro was my favorite character in the movie. He plays this martial arts instructor that is the instructor of DiCaprio's daughter, but he's also hoarding and bringing in a bunch of illegals and everything, and he has this calm demeanor throughout the entire film, no matter what is happening. Like, he is so stoic, as DiCaprio is just like paranoid and going nuts because he's so stoned. You have Benicio del Toro's character that's so like centered and focused and has that like, Mr. Miyagi kind of like sensibility, and it worked as a great back and forth. So I would say positive is Del Toro's character, but the negative is there's not enough of him in the movie, because I think that the dynamic between him and DiCaprio were my favorite parts, but he's very much a supporting character and not a main character, so I really wanted to see more of him. I do, unfortunately, have a couple of negatives, too, and none of them have to do with any of the political angles of the movie. This is where I stand on stuff like that. I think, and I understand people's sensibilities being what they are when we live in such a rough climate right now, you know what I mean? But I always look at a movie as a story, and stories can be about all kinds of people. I think stories can be about good guys. I think they can be about bad guys. I think things are nuanced. I think sometimes, the world is a massive shade of gray. And unless the movie is like every single 5 minutes trying to shove a message down your throat, which this movie is not, I don't believe it is. Maybe some people will view it differently, but I don't think so, because I think that characters in a story are under no obligation to be some kind of moral centerpiece for an audience. I think that we can have movies about people that are vigilantes. We can have movies about people that are police officers. We can have movies about people that are drug dealers. We can have movies about anything. And all of them can be compelling. All of them can be interesting, you know? I understand hesitations probably in like the modern day climate, but to me, these were just characters in a story. I didn't look at it as the movie giving me any kind of political message. I just looked at it as, okay, our main characters are activists. And that's as far as I took it. And I also think that it's interesting because you always do find that humanization within every type of character. Like, you can watch a series like The Sopranos, you know, and Tony Soprano is objectively a terrible person, but he's a great character. And I think that that's possible, and that's something that's great about storytelling in general. So none of those things ever really bother me. Like, unless, like I said, the movie is trying to preach something to me, and it's super noticeable, and it happens like every 5 minutes, which is not this movie at all. This movie is just this epic ride of DiCaprio, who once did something in his past, and now it's coming back to haunt him, and he's trying to find his daughter, and there's a lot of hilarity that ensues. But there is also real world things that are happening. You know, there are riots that are happening here. Like I said, there's somebody that's, helping out illegals that are coming through. There's all this stuff that obviously is happening in our modern day world in the movie, but we're dealing with characters that are funny, engaging, very, very human at the end of the day. But there's also the darker side, which deals more with Sean Penn's character, which I can't really get into without spoilers. Sean Penn's character in this movie, I didn't like him at all. Obviously, you're not supposed to like him. He's a shitty person, and he plays that well. But what I mean when I say I didn't like him is, even as a shitty person, I just didn't like his character. I don't know if it was the choices he made as an actor, the type of sensibilities this character had, or like the character's real motivations. But again, none of those things usually bother me. Like, even if a character is the most despicable person ever put to film, if they're a great character and they're performed well by an actor, I can still enjoy them. I can still like them as a character, even if I wouldn't like them as a person. But Sean Penn's character in this movie, I hated everything about him. I couldn't stand him. And I like Sean Penn as an actor, but holy shit. Like, this guy sucked. And I guess that was the point. And he's not really intimidating at all. He's really just a doofus. And I guess that is also the point. But man, it really kind of brought it down a little bit for me, because I really wanted the antagonist to be, like, as funny as this movie is, I really wanted the antagonist to be a little bit more intimidating, a little bit more serious. And Sean Penn's character was just so absurd to me that it took me out of the movie a little bit. And this is probably just a me thing. I'm probably alone on an island in this, but I get it. Like, I get the joke, and I get the exaggeration of his character, but I just couldn't stand him. I just couldn't stand his character no matter what. It took me out of the film, man. The other thing about this movie might sort of come down to the length, and it depends on how you want to look at it, because, like I said, Magnolia is one of my favorite films of all time, and that's a 3-hour film, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with 3-hour movies. I love Magnolia, Seven Samurai. There's a lot of 3-hour movies I like. This movie, I just felt like there was a lot that could have been cut out of it, most particularly in the first 20 to 25 minutes, which is essentially the backstory. And again, I understand the backstory is important to tell to bring us up to speed on what DiCaprio's character did in the past so that we understand where he is in the present. There were a lot of things that happened in the first 20 minutes of the movie where I really felt like I wanted it to get to where it was going. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely interesting stuff to watch, including with Sean Penn's character and his introduction. I'll say this, you'll never expect how Sean Penn is introduced in this movie. You would never guess in a million years what happens in the first scene where Sean Penn is introduced. I guarantee it. But the movie really begins to pick up steam when it cuts to present time, and it's DiCaprio, realizing that the military's coming after him, and he has to try to find his daughter, and he's trying to contact all the other activists, and he's trying to escape, and he's going through tunnels, and he's calling people on the phone, and he's scrambling around. That's when the movie is at its peak, in my opinion. The first 20-25 minutes, it's necessary story points in order to get us to understand who DiCaprio's character is and what his past was like, but it really felt like a lot of that could be skipped and given to us more in context clues rather than seeing it all play out. But I also feel like maybe Paul Thomas Anderson shot a lot more footage, and maybe this was originally like a 4-hour movie, and the first 20 minutes weren't meant to be a flashback at all, but actually a significant chapter of the movie. That would make more sense to me because of what we got. And it cut really quick too. That's the thing too. I noticed because Paul Thomas Anderson movies, one thing that I love about them also is that he does a lot of long takes and he does a lot of wide shots. I love that shit. And he does a lot of that once the movie gets going. But in the beginning, there is a lot of quick pacing to it. Like a scene happens, it cuts to 5 years in the future. A scene happens, it cuts to a little farther in the future. It's very, very quick. But overall, I thought the movie was really good. I liked it. I'd enjoyed it. I would recommend it. If you're a DiCaprio fan, I would recommend it. If you are a Paul Thomas Anderson fan, I would recommend it. I just didn't love it the way that I wanted to love it. I wanted to love it on the same level as some of his earlier films or the other Paul Thomas Anderson movies that I like. But instead, this is kind of somewhere in the middle, for me. It's kind of like somewhere in the middle of his filmography. I think it is much better than the last couple movies he put out, but just not quite on that high level for me. And again, maybe it's one of those situations where the movie is so talked up and there's so much praise and there was so much good press before the movie came out that maybe my expectations were a little too high. I think it's a fun, enjoyable, funny movie with some really shocking and serious commentary in it, but overall just not a movie that I am probably going to go back to a whole bunch. Liked it, didn't love it. So let me know what you guys thought about it. If you watched one battle after another this weekend, or if you're going to watch it, let me know what you think about it down below. Leave all your thoughts, comments, and opinions about the film. And just for fun, go ahead and comment your favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. For me, it's Magnolia. It's probably going to be There Will Be Blood for most people. But hey, maybe some people will throw out a curveball and say Punch Drunk Love. I don't know. Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Give the video a comment, thumbs up. I'll talk to you next time.